Before we get into the video, I want to say happy October, everybody. This month is going to be all horror on my channel, so I'm only going to be reviewing horror movies this entire month of October. So if you have any suggestions or any comments about any film that I should watch and review, let me know, leave it in the comments. And okay, back to the video. Christine is a 1983 horror film directed by the master of horror himself, John Carpenter, and starring Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, and Alexandra Paul. The film follows Arnie Cunningham, played by Keith Gordon, who buys a 1958 Plymouth Fury named Christine. Arnie starts developing an unhealthy obsession with repairing the car, causing his behavior to change drastically and even turning aggressive and violent. Meanwhile, Arnie's best friend Dennis, played by John Stockwell, and his girlfriend Lee, played by Alexandra Paul, investigate the idea that the car is evil and perhaps possessed by a supernatural force, causing Christine to murder anybody who stands in the way of her special bond with Arnie. So I am a pretty big fan of this movie, if you couldn't already tell, given that I have this little replica of the Christine car. But I want to be as neutral as possible for this review. So I want to review the movie for what it is and not just because I'm this, huge fan of it. So to start off, one of the best parts of this movie is the soundtrack and the score. John Carpenter himself scored the movie along with Alan Hayworth, and honestly, the score is fucking awesome. It has a lot of synths and drums with lots of reverb, as John Carpenter loved to use, and it gives the film not only a perfect 80s vibe, but also this sort of cool nightlife but eerie vibe that is just so fucking cool in my opinion. I've been looking for the score on vinyl and hopefully I'll find it soon. Along with that, the soundtrack of the movie is great too. In the movie, Christine only plays old songs through her radio, so there's a lot of those oldies in the soundtrack. Iconic songs like I Wonder Why by Dion and the Belmonts, Pledging My Love by Johnny Ace, and the cheesy but perfectly fitting Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood. So all in all, the music is great in this movie. And now that I'm saying this, I feel like making a video in the future about my favorite movie soundtracks. Let me know if you would be interested in watching that. Anyway, now let's talk about the movie itself. First and foremost, it's casting. Keith Gordon, who played Arnie, is so good in this movie. The way he goes from this shy, stereotypical nerd to this greaser poser to this aggressive, obsessive asshole is worth recognition. Sometimes he goes a bit over the top, but it's understandable, as Arnie is actually just a nerd, but Christine is changing his personality into something cringy and unlikable. This change of personality reminded me of Peter Parker's change in Spider-Man 3, where he thinks he's cool, but really he's just a nerd pretending to be cool, and coming off more like an asshole than anything else. Dennis, Arnie's best friend, is such a damn good friend, and John Stockwell portrayed him perfectly. Same thing with Alexandra Paul's character of Lee. But I can't forget about the main character of the movie, Christine herself. The stunning red 1958 Plymouth Fury is beautiful to look at, but what I really want to mention is the changes that Christine underwent in the film. The scene of Christine repairing herself is iconic, as well as this shot of her in flames. Or how about this one where she tries to kill Lee? The car looks majestic in my opinion, but at the same time it looks pretty eerie. The long body gives it a beautiful but intimidating silhouette. I also think the horror sequences in the movie are really well done. Christine is pretty scary because of how relentless she is. The sequence of her chasing Moochie down an alley is scary as hell if you think about it. Imagine you're Moochie and you see a car with fully tinted windows and bright headlights driving fast towards you. You run away and try to hide in a narrow alley, only to see that car, who you imagine is being driven by someone, but you don't know who, driving through that alley also, destroying itself just to kill you. That's scary as hell if you think about it. And then to top it off, Christine was driving herself there. And I just gotta mention this scene again where Christine is on fire and chasing Buddy down the road. That is fucking badass. Anyway, the cinematography in this movie is really good too. There's a lot of stable gliding shots that really make you feel like you're seeing the world how Christine sees it. So what are my complaints about the movie? Well, I would say some of the jokes are a bit outdated, especially the jokes said between Arnie, Dennis, and his classmates about the girls around school. I am also not a huge fan of the final battle between Christine and Arnie and Dennis and Lee. I understand why it makes sense to have that final battle in the do-it-yourself garage where Arnie stored Christine, but I just feel like if every other important sequence happened in a unique set piece, like for example the drive-in movie theater, an alley, a gas station, etc., ending the movie in the garage basically felt a little anticlimactic for me. But it was a cool final battle nonetheless, and the tease in the junkyard scene at the end of the movie is well done too. Also, just a few months ago in June 2021, Sony Pictures and Blumhouse announced that they're gonna remake Christine. And why? Like, there's no need to. I hope they do it justice, but honestly, I'm not thrilled at all. I can already imagine they're going to ruin the magic of this movie by not only replacing the score and soundtrack with something lifeless, but also replacing the practical effects of this movie with some garbage CGI. Do you guys feel the same way? Or I mean, am I crazy? I mean, like, why remake this movie at all? Anyway, enough about the remake. I would give Christine a 9 out of 10. It's way better than a movie about a killer car has any right to be, and is one of my favorites from the 80s. But what do you think about the movie? Have you seen it? Leave it in the comments. And alright, yeah, that's the end of the video. Happy October. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.